truth that we need to confront now is that medicine and science are being politically perverted around this country that destroys human lives. And we have reached a tipping point for the role in medicine and civic life, for the health and well-being of LGBTQI plus youth and other Americans. Those who attack our community are driven by an agenda of politics. It has nothing to do with medicine. It has nothing to do with science. It has nothing to do with warmth, empathy, compassion, and understanding. They are rejecting the value of supportive medicine, rejecting well-established science, and simply rejecting basic human compassion. We, as doctors,
this is so organic,
people who love our communities and love our nation, have to confront the fact that the language of care and compassion that they're using is being taken for granted to literally tear our communities apart. So we have to stand up. We have to take a stand on behalf of those who are being hurt. That's what we do in medicine, even when it's difficult.
We've got to piece through this. The reason why, by the way, let me just backtrack a little bit. When I said, did we want to gag in the opener, it was in reference to Justin Trudeau. This was actually the substitute for vomitus in the mouth, which I realized afterwards people might have thought I was referring to this. This is apropos because of some news that has broken about which you might be aware. A certain transgender Navy SEAL who now wants to detransition. And we're seeing Chloe Cole, detransitioning teen, suing doctors. I wanted to play this because I don't remember if we talked about this or if I just tweeted about it. But it's so over the top in terms of, geez, Louise, I mean, confession through projection. My family members tell me, Viva, or they say, Dave, enough with the confession through projection. We got it. But it's never going to end. It's never going to be enough because it's always going to be there. And the people doing it, they're doing it harder. They're doing it faster. They're doing it with more, brazenness, with a total lack of introspection or a total lack of honesty. We're going to walk through a few of the elements in this in terms of what Dr. Levine is talking about. It's not about science. I don't want to screw it up. Let's just hear this.
And the truth that we need to confront now is that medicine and science are being politically perverted around this country that destroys human lives.
Medicine and science is being politically perverted, which is an odd way of describing it, across this country in a way that is destroying lives. You're right, Dr. Levine.
Politically perverted around this country that destroys human lives.
You're right, Dr. Levine, but we're not talking about the same destruction of human lives. We're not even talking about the same humans.
And we have reached a tipping point for the role in medicine and civic life, for the health and well-being of LGBTQI plus youth and other Americans.
She's talking about youth. Levine, I don't know. It's like, when someone detransitions, do the pronouns change? I mean, I'm just going to go with doctor, because whatever we think about Levine is still a doctor. We'll say doctor. I would not take my kids to this doctor. I might also end that qualification of doctor with quack afterwards, but moving on.
Those who attack our community are driven by an agenda of politics.
Those who attack our community are driven by an agenda of politics. I agree with you, Dr. LGBTQ2IA plus children in our community. I agree with you. Driven by politics. And I dare say some of the doctors are also driven by a little bit of that good old digital green stuff.
There's nothing to do with medicine.
Nothing to do with medicine. Double mastectomies, top surgery, bottom surgery, puberty blockers, hormone replacement therapy has nothing to do with medicine. It has to do with the perversion of the practice of medicine. Perversion, political perversion. But it gets even better. This entire speech could have been delivered by Matt Walsh. Could have been delivered by Billboard Chris. This entire speech, verbatim, with a couple of tweaks, mutatis mutandis, could have been delivered by vehemently anti-gender-affirming care proponents. Has nothing to do with medicine, has nothing to do with science.
It has nothing to do with science. It has nothing to do with warmth, empathy, compassion, and understanding.
It has nothing to do with warmth, empathy, compassion, and understanding. You're right. Because when you lob off the healthy breasts of a young child, of a young teenager, it has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with perversion of medicine, and it has to do with corruption of what has become a very lucrative business for doctors.
They are rejecting the value of supportive medicine.
Yeah. When you lop off the healthy parts of a teenager, you're rejecting supportive medicine, and you've gone straight into body mutilation. Supportive medicine means supporting the individual through the crisis, not catering to it, not exacerbating it. You know, the idea that someone thinks they need to lop off healthy body parts in order to ease the mental anguish and distress that goes along with a mental condition, because this is a diagnosable and diagnosed mental condition. The idea that you need to lop off healthy body parts to ease the distress, that's part of the mental illness, not a solution to it.
Rejecting well-established science.
Rejecting well-established science. Can you believe Dr. Levine is sitting here telling us that we're the ones rejecting well-established science, which is that boys have penises, girls have vaginas. Boys have more testosterone, girls don't have as much testosterone. Boys develop muscle mass at around 12 to 13 years of age. Girls don't quite develop that type of muscle mass. There's an entire book my wife is reading, she's a neuroscientist, by the way, called Mommy Brain. And like, people are so torn between science and politics. It's a tug of war. Is politics going to take over science? Rachel Levine is accusing us. What did she say here?
The value of supportive medicine. Rejecting well-established science.
Rachel Levine is accusing me, Matt Walsh, Billboard Chris, of rejecting well-established science.
And simply rejecting basic human compassion.
You know who's rejecting basic human compassion? The adults in the room that are allowing children in the room to dictate what happens to their bodies. They are the ones who are lacking human compassion. Human compassion does not mean catering to the mental issues of someone who is going through a diagnosed mental condition. That's not compassion. Compassion is not letting your kid eat all of the candy because they want to eat a bag of candy on Halloween. That's called neglect. Rejecting well-established science, if you eat that candy, you're going to get sick. I don't care that you think you want to. You're a kid. Your brain is not developed. That's well-established science. You don't get to make decisions that are going to permanently alter your body for the rest of your life. That's why you can't get a tattoo until you're 18. That's why you can't drink until you're 17, 18, 21, whatever the jurisdiction. That's why you can't smoke. Oh, but you can decide to take hormone replacement therapy, lop off your breasts or genitals. And we're the ones rejecting well-established science. Carrying on.
We as doctors and as people who love our communities and love our nation have to confront the fact that the language of care and compassion that they're using is being taken for granted to literally tear our communities.
I actually don't even know what that means.
So we have to stand up. We have to take a stand on behalf of those who are being hurt.
We do.
That's what we do in medicine.
Yep, we do.
Even when it's difficult.
Yeah, and you know who the ones that are hurting them are? Dr. Levine? You. And you know how we know this now? Well, the more people that go through this craze, this phenomenon, this massive industry now, the more people that go through it, the more people that come out of it and say, what the hell did you let me do to my body? What the hell did you let me do? And this was the segue into that par deux, as we say in Men in Tights. I think he was a military person. What did I say there was? A SEAL. So I hope I don't get copy strike for this, but let's play this.
May or may not have seen in 2013 an interview with a Navy SEAL, Chris Beck. He came out as a transgender Navy SEAL. But why we're here today is because of everything happening in America with this transition craze that's going on with kids.
This also reveals two other issues, which we've discussed at various points on this channel with Dr. Sidney Watson. Munchausen by proxy, Munchausen syndrome by social media. We're going to get there because it's a point that Robbie Starbuck brings up in this. I'm very excited to see this on Rumble, by the way.
You have something that you want to tell the world. What is that?
Everything you see on CNN with my face, do not even believe a word of it. Everything that happened to me for the last 10 years, it destroyed my life. I destroyed my life. I'm not a victim. I did it to myself, but I had some help.
He's an adult. He did it to himself. Chloe Cole, 15-year-old girl, didn't do it to herself.
Gender ideology is cultish, and it's not science-based at all. They take that desire, that innate human desire to want to change and to want to help people, and they use it just like a cult leader would. And the parents are so desperate to fit in with this ideology because of the fear of the us, them. They don't want to be othered. So now they're using the children as these trophies of like, look at me. I have a child that I'm accepting of.
It is virtue signaling by proxy. I've been thinking recently that I don't know enough about the fall of the Roman Empire, and I was looking for a good book to listen to so that I could understand. I understand the 30,000-foot overview of the fall of the Roman Empire, but I wonder how much of an analogy can be drawn to this virtue signaling, because I genuinely believe if the West falls, if the West commits some form of social suicide, it will be as a result of virtue signaling. It will be as a result of the desire to superficially feign tolerance, because what that does, it's a drug. It's a drug as much as Munchausen syndrome, by proxy. For those of you who don't know what that is, the idea that you get pity or you get adulation, you get sympathy, you get attention if you're sick. And so what that does, people fake sickness because they get sympathy. They get brownies brought over by their neighbors. They get more attention than they would have ever gotten in real life on their own merits to some extent. And so it becomes much easier to get this attention by pretending to be sick than by succeeding in health. And Munchausen syndrome by proxy, for those who, don't want to get sick or fake sick, well, you get your kids sick. And then you get to have all of the adulation, the attention, and you get to look like a hero because you're sacrificing yourself for the kid that you're making sick. What we have here is not a failure to communicate. What we have here is virtue signaling by proxy, a form of social media created Munchausen syndrome, where people say, I need to show, if only superficially, if only I put out a tweet that says, we can get to some of the superficial tweets in a second, where the people who tend to virtue signal the hardest tend to also be the nastiest. But people are so desperate to virtue signal, to show how tolerant that they are, that they have to fabricate controversy to show that they are tolerating and accepting of. And so what easier way to do that than with your children? You don't have to make them physically ill. You don't have to feed them windshield fluid in their Gatorade. Just convince them that they're a trans 5-year-old and that you're so tolerant, you're going to let them change their name. You're going to let them dress up like whatever they want. And this will be the end or the downfall of Western society, when people put more value on feigning virtue than actually being virtuous. And they put so much more value on tolerance that they're prepared to tolerate atrocities under the pretext of tolerance and humanity, caring for children who are so confused that you're going to allow the kids to mutilate their bodies so that they can express themselves. And in as much as TikTok, I believe, I agree with Sydney Watson, it's a manufacturer of mental illness. It is a manufacturer of psychological disruption. I know there's a lot of people out there who think it's a deliberate tactic by China that made the app and wants to infiltrate and degrade Western society. And I can very much understand that sentiment. I'm not sure that I'm there yet, but that's not to say that I might not get there. And it's not to say that I think anybody who's there is crazy. I don't. I can understand that idea. There's the idea that it's on purpose, but at the end of the day, whether or not it's on purpose or whether or not it's the nefarious side effect of what is effectively a drug, just happens to be a social media drug, it changes nothing. You sit on TikTok for a little while. I mean, I've got a bit of hypochondriacy myself with a little insight, so I know I know when it's happening, but there's people who don't. And there's young kids who are not even developed at that point yet, where they just get down a path and they start thinking that they are effectively suffering from, some form of condition that becomes a mental illness. And it's a curated, self-inflicted mental illness. Sorry, that's me. I want to see if it's Chubby Emu. Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know Chubby Emu, I forget where the name came from. It's a doctor who does these very, very, very good. It's like 1,000 Ways to Die, but more scientific. And here, I'll put it in here. I'm so hypochondriacal. Like, I'm watching these Chubby Emu, a guy who gets skin cancer, cuts off his own mole, and then this cancer spreads around his body and he ends up in the hospital. I can feel myself getting skin cancer. I can feel myself having a heart attack, a stroke. There was one, the link I just put there in the chat is a kid who accidentally, allegedly ate 96 edible gummies, thinking they were candies. Oh boy. Anyhow, so that's it. The world's gone mad. Everything that Dr. Levine said in that intro is true, but of Levine and of the promoters, purveyors, and enablers of this remedy to what is a diagnosable mental disorder. And I say that with no judgment, with nothing. I say that with no judgment. Nobody should be judged, discriminated against for their mental disorders. But when medicine starts to cater to those mental disorders, promote them, encourage them, and then lucratively treat them, Houston, we have a problem.